techniques. Now this is actually called an unbreakable umbrella, and these are quite expensive, but you could put these across a chair and stand on them. They really are unbreakable. And the umbrella is probably best for thrusting attacks, or what we call butt strikes. This is called a butt strike because from the rifle, the butt of the rifle is this hand. So when you strike with a handle, it's normally called a butt strike, and with a tip, it's called a tip strike. You can also use an ordinary walking stick for most of the things. This is an oak walking stick. This is called a crook cane. You could use a crook cane, although it does have certain limitations depending on the size of your crook. If you're thrusting, you can get yourself caught in a pocket. And also, if you strike with that end, if your opponent gets hold of it, then he will have a stronger grip than you because he's got the crook. So there are certain limitations with a crook cane, but if you're striking with the tip, then it's perfectly acceptable. Another type of cane is called the Derby handle. Now, I must admit, I don't really use this one a lot. The trouble with the Derby handle is it's made of 2 bits of wood. So we've got a dowel connection there, which means potentially you have got a weak spot depending on the connection. Again, though, it can be used. That can be used like as a hammer end. Again, probably best striking with the tip. I personally don't know much about Derby canes. I don't use them, but you know, it's a stick, it can work. And another popular thing is called a knob stick. And this again is a bit like the shillelagh. This is made of hazel. Hazel is a very good wood to make a stick out of because it's got long fibres. It's very, very light and very, very strong. So light is actually quite important because a lot of the Vigny style is using one hand. And if you've got a very heavy cane, you'll end up giving yourself tendinitis. So the type of cane Vigny used, as I say, was probably this sort. Very, very light, very, very fast, very, very nimble. And the idea is not really to launch crushing blows as you might with a bludgeon, but it's to launch very fast blows on certain parts of the body. And the parts of the body to aim for with a light stick are basically areas of the body where the bone is closest to the skin. So for example, the wrist is a very good, back of the hand, very disabling, the shin, the knee, the elbow. So what you're not going for is tremendous sort of clubbing power. What you're going for is stinging strikes on bony bits of the body. So a strike to the hand will immediately disarm someone, possibly break some bones. Elbow again will disarm. Across the shin will disable someone. So again, not powerful blows, but fast. And the key is actually aiming at specific targets. The shoulder blade's another one. You can break the shoulder blade, the elbow, the knee, the wrist. Best not to hit the head because that way you can possibly kill someone really, but jaw would be good. So those are the basic targets. Those are sort of some of the basic ideas. And I thought what we could have a look at, I don't know if you've got any room in your houses, but we could have a look at some of the basic techniques. But one thing might be of interesting, you might like to know, is that Pierre Vigny's wife also, she was a professional fencer and she worked under the name Miss Sanderson. And she taught women umbrella and parasol defence in London. And she actually taught the suffragettes. So the suffragettes, many of the suffragettes learned parasol defence from Pierre Vigny's wife. And there are articles, there's even something called suffragetsu, which was a kind of jiu-jitsu that the suffragettes learned. And that was all taught by Pierre Vigny's wife. That wasn't her real name, Miss Sanderson, that was her stage name. But the Bartitsu Club actually ended in 1903. It only lasted about 3 years. Then Pierre Vigny went back to France. And William Edward Barton Wright started teaching therapies with electric light bulbs. He was a bit of a character. He started curing people with electric bulbs. So, yeah, I think possibly bit of a showman, bit of a charlatan. But anyway, he created the Bartitsu Club, and that's why we're here. So let's have a look at some of the simple. I think we'll go for basic, simple two-handed techniques here. So there's various different ways of holding the cane, and the first one we're going to go for is like this. Now this is basically holding it like a bayonet, like this. And these are some very simple techniques to start. Now the advantage of holding a cane with two hands is you're less likely to lose it. And the other thing with a cane is don't start sticking it out in front of you, because if someone grabs it, it's not your cane, it becomes our cane. And now you've got to get the cane back. So the thing to do is keep the cane back, keep it away. And I want you to think really of a bayonet, because this is basically what we're going to do now is a kind of bayonet style. And it's several moves. The first move from this position is a horizontal move. Now what you're doing with this horizontal move is you're literally scoring across the abdomen of your opponent. Now this in itself isn't a deadly move, but the object is to get a reaction from your opponent. The next move is much more deadly. So from here, now when you do all of these moves, it's not a hand movement. You've got to think about boxing, maybe even golf. What you're really doing is you're putting your body into it. If you look at the hands, actually, you could do it without the hands really moving. What's causing the power is the push from the rear leg and the rotation of the hips, because this isn't going to do any damage. That will, if you put your body into it. And if you imagine a boxer, when you see a boxer, they throw their body, they even raise the rear heel, rotate their hips, transfer their weight onto the front foot. So that is the sort of action you're doing to generate power. So, move one. You hear? Horizontal. Now the next move, you've got to imagine your opponent's in front of you, is straight up. It's actually vertical. Now what's happened to your opponent? You've gone like that, he's gone up. Now this is going straight up. This is a very dangerous, you don't really want to be doing this, but if you're saving your life, this is what you do, straight up. Now that's going to be going there. If he's leaning forward, it could be going in his face, in his eye. This is a finisher. So here to get the reaction, straight up. So there are your first two moves, up and up, that's it. So across and up. So what you need to do, start programming that into your muscle memory. And as it goes across, your hips rotate, and as you go up, you push up from your back foot. So boom, boom. Now the next thing, your stick is up. It's possible you've missed your opponent. You've done that, he's gone over forwards, you've completely missed, but you're up. So the next thing you do now is bring it down. And what you're aiming now is across the face, across the head. Now depending on your stick, for example, if you've got a big hefty stick like this, just hitting the head will knock your opponent down. So, across, up, down. The final is like a hook in boxing. You come here, you hit here, bang. You're hitting the jaw. So across, up, down, across, that's it, very good. That looked very dramatic. Who was that? Maxwell. That looked good, Maxwell, yeah. I wouldn't have wanted to be on the end of that one. Down, across, and then the finisher it's called a bar smash or a bar strike. It's horizontal strike like that. Now that could be in the throat, under the nose, in the teeth. Bang! Like that. So now this actually routine was created by Captain William Fairbairn, and it was taught to the soldiers in the war, because this is a very simple, very deadly combination of moves that doesn't require any great skill, but it does require that you rehearse it so that you've got it in your muscle memory. So let's go through it again slowly. So we get this. It's how many? It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now when you do, because we're trying to get the body behind all of these movements, I've already showed you when we do this, if you notice I've rotated my whole body, I'm not doing that, bang. Now that might miss, in which case you're going up. Now as I go up, I'm slightly stepping forward, I'm pushing my hips up and forward, because I'm getting my body weight behind it. Then down, and again, it's not just that won't hurt anyone, it's so you go like that, put everything you've got into it. Then from here, This is coming from the back leg. So you throw your weight forward, and what you're aiming to do is strike the side of the head here, like that. Right. And then finally, as you do this, you can step forward, bang, like that. Because what you're using is your whole body. So as you step, you push off, you extend your arms as your rear foot lands. This means it's not just a stick. I'm 13.5 stone. There's 13.5 stone coming at you, concentrated onto sort of 1/2 inch of thickness into your nose or into your mouth. So, how are we getting on with that? Does that make sense? Okay. Yep. That looks good, Joe. I'll tell you what, if I can see you, if we could all run through it once, just so I can have a little look, make sure we've got it all right. Do you want to have a little go? Yep. That's looking good. Okay. That's right. Run through it one more time, then we'll move on. So in this position, we've got one hand up and one hand down. This is called the bayonet position. There's other positions where you have one hand down, both hands down. Another position where you have one hand up, but you never ever have two hands up. That is not a position. That's a disaster waiting to happen. So it's always you've always got one the other way. You can have two facing down. Okay. So let's do this one more time, then we'll move on. Okay. So from here, we're crouched. We've got our stick up. Now, actually, before we do, one thing we should, how we get into that position. That's another thing. Now, if we're standing with a stick next to us, what we've got to do is flip the stick up. Now, as we flip the stick up, we're starting with the stick in this position. We could be using a walking stick in this position. What we do, we rotate slightly, assuming it's in the right hand, rotate slightly to the right, flip the stick up. Now, with a crook cane, you can hold it like that. That actually gives you more power. So you can do everything we've just described in that position. Or you can drop your hand down here, flip the stick up. So this is your start position here. Sideways on, with the stick horizontal at about chest level. Then across, up. Now the back hand can be up, or the front hand can be up and the back hand can be down. It's actually whatever position you find yourself in. What you don't want to be doing is changing hands unnecessarily, because that's when you can drop it. So if you've got the cane in this position, that's fine. Just carry on. If it's in that position, again, carry on. The ideal position is that. So what you really want to do is you've got your cane with the crook backwards, slide your hand down, bring it up like that. Then that puts you in the two-handed position, like that. Okay. Both hands down is fine. Front hand up is also fine. Okay, so that's your basic five count drill. Across,
Could I ask a
up.
question?
Again?
Could I ask a question?
Yeah, please do.
How far should the cane go when you do the sweeping motion?
How far should it go when you...
How far to my left the cane tip go?
When you do this?
Yes.
What you're doing is you're scoring across the stomach to get a reaction so your opponent bends over. So what you don't want to do is go like that, because that puts you completely out of position. And if you miss, you're just offering your back to your opponent. He'll charge in and that's the end of that. So what you need to do, as soon as you clear the stomach, you stop. So you go from there to there. You stop maybe a fist's width to the right of your opponent's left side of his stomach. You don't want to be doing that. So while you do want to throw your body weight in, you definitely want to do that. You don't want to do something called overcommit. And quite often in something like boxing, you'll see some that overcommitting where you punch, you miss, and you're completely in the wrong position. So you don't want to overcommit. So bang, you're actually using your arms with your body behind it. And you end up in this position. So you're not really out of position. You haven't really moved that much. Then from here, wherever your opponent's head is, you're actually literally going straight up, like that. You're swinging upwards. Now the idea is you're catching him in the throat, in the mouth, with the tip, going straight up, like that. So across, straight up. Now because you're already straight up, you don't need to reposition, just come straight down. Bang. So that makes perfect sense. If you've missed the face, you've just set yourself up for the next blow. And as you bring it down, drop your body weight into it. Now hopefully you'll be hitting the face, top of the head. Even if it's the shoulder blade, that'll be enough to break a shoulder blade. So he'll be disabled. Then from here, across, hitting with this. If you've got this sort of stick, you're hitting with that. If you've got an umbrella, you'd be hitting with that, which would be very nasty. And then, oof, step forward and thrust. Now, that system, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, you can just keep going. You can just keep going with it. You don't have to stop. I mean, who's going to want to get anywhere near you? So that's a great little system taught by a brilliant martial artist called Fairbairn to the troops in World War II. And the idea was to get people fighting ready in the shortest space of time. And that system really does work very well. Now, that's the Fairbairn system. So now let's have another look at another system. Okay, we'll use a walking stick like this. Now, again, we're going to start from the bayonet position. So the bayonet position is like this. You've got your backhand here. Now, with a crook cane, you can have your backhand here. Best thing is to turn the hook away, because what you don't want to do is hook your own kidney, or if you're wearing a tracksuit top, hook your own pocket. It can be very, well, that, you know, if you do that, you can't do anything. So, always best to have the crook facing away from you. Now, from the bayonet position, you're very well placed for defence, because you've got something coming down the central line. So if someone throws a punch to you here, you can block it. They throw a punch to you here, you can block it. So this, with very little movement, is a block. You've only got to move a tiny bit. So you imagine someone, I've got my bayonet like this up here, someone's throwing a punch at me here. Just by turning that, I blocked. Just by that. So with very little movement, you've got your, what they call your top two gates covered, your left and your right gates. These are your upper gates, below your waist is your lower gates. So that's the first thing. So you've got that. Now from here, we're going to do this as a very simple system, just like the other one, just be 3 or 4 moves and that'll be it. From here, we're going to go 1, 2. We're going to thrust. Now when you do thrust, it's a good idea to go high and low. In fact, you could do 3 thrusts, high, low, high. Now the reason being, if you go high and something goes wrong, they'll cover up. Now they've opened the low gate, now their low gate is vulnerable. If you thrust low and they go like that, now the high gate is vulnerable. So let's do 3. We'll do high, low, high. So we start from this guard position. We flip the cane up. We're holding it like that. Block, block. 1, 2, 3. So we do 3 thrusts. 1, 2, 3. We do a high thrust and a low thrust, and then a high thrust, or a low thrust, a high thrust, and a low thrust. So there you go. So that's your basic position. You start from there, flip the cane up. If you end up with your hand facing down, it doesn't matter. It's the same thing. Feels a bit more awkward, but it has other advantages we'll talk about later. So keep the hook facing away from you. If you've got a hook, if you haven't, don't worry about it. Bring the cane up, face up or face down. Now you don't want to be hanging about waiting to block. What you want to do is go straight in with your thrust. I'm just saying this is a block. If you need it, you can block people's attacks. But what you need to be doing, and there's been a lot of work on this, I've done a lot of research. What tends to happen with people when they're faced with violence, they've got a very, very short window when they can act. And if you don't work in a very quick manner, what happens is you freeze. And there's something called the freeze response, and I've read a whole book on it actually, and it comes in a few seconds. You have a freeze response, then you can't do anything, then you're just a punch bag. So what you actually have to do in self-defense is you have to be preemptive. If you feel it coming, don't wait there to block. If you feel that you're an immediate threat, even under British law, you have a right to defend yourself in a way that is commensurate with the attack you're getting. So, I'm 66. If a young chap with a knife, accosted me, I would be justified to belt him with a stick. That would be self-defense. If I went up to an old lady in the street and hit her with a stick, that would be an assault. So it's situation specific, but you do have to act preemptively. You can't start letting people hit you. If you freeze, that's the end of the fight. So from here,
what if the old lady had a knife?
Well, if the yeah, that's true. I suppose the answer would be I could run. You see, I could run, but you are allowed to defend yourself, and it is relative to the threat and your state of health. But if you feel someone's going to hit you, you have to hit them first, and you have to go all in. So what you would do in this situation, you feel the threat coming, sticks up, and you're in. Bam, bam, bam. So you do 3 strikes, high, low, high, or low, high, low. Don't do one, you might miss.
Coming behind for that one, Gary. Are you just using your arms, or are you using your...
What I'm doing, I'm not just using my arms, good point. I've got my feet, maybe if I can lower it, you can see my feet a little bit. What I'm doing is, I'm pushing off from my back foot, and chucking my body behind it. So I'm not just doing that. I'm tense, I'm bang, bang, bang. So the whole body from the back foot. You've got a sideways stance. You're not standing. When you take the stick, this is called blading. Your body's bladed, you're at an angle. And what you want to do is have your dominant side, in my case the right side, wants to be in the rear. So I've got my right leg at the back and my right hand at the back. Like that. Drop your weight a little bit. Now you're ready to go. So what you do, don't put the stick out because you'll grab it, keep it back, boom, in you go. So you thrust as you step. I've just broken my blinds. You thrust as you step. And you can put your hip in as well. So what you're doing is chucking your body into it. Poof, poof, high, low, high. That's the first part of the drill. As I say, I mentioned you've got this as a block, but you don't want to be relying on blocks. And in fact, Fairbairn, when he taught the troops, he didn't teach blocks because he said you shouldn't be blocking. What you should be doing is attacking. Don't block, just go for it. So if you think something's going to happen, you go for it. And you have got a stick. Now, the point of a stick is a very, very, very powerful weapon. And in French le can, which is a sport they do in France, it's illegal. And the reason it's illegal is it's hard to block and it's absolutely devastating. This will really mess you up. If you get this in the face, solar plexus, in the stomach, whack. The surface area here is tiny and the weight of your body behind is like a spear. That one of those will end a fight. So this is a very, very dangerous attack, the bayonet. So you've got that. So you've got your 3 strikes, 1, 2, 3. Now what I'm going to recommend is we then cut to a single-handed technique. From here we've got the stick here, and what you do is place this hand on your wrist here. And from here I'm going to use a slightly shorter stick now because I'm a bit limited for space. Here. And what we do we're aiming for the knees or the shins. 1, 2, 3. Back to the bayonet. So we're in the bayonet. Jab, jab, jab. We can step back with the lead foot if we want, and then 1, 2, 3. And again, we're putting the whole body into it. This adds power to that hand. Having two hands is a slightly different technique and needs a bit of getting used to. Having this here, like a golf swing, you can put a lot of power into it, your hips. So we're starting off with the bayonet. Jab, jab, jab. And as we're jabbing, I'll show you again, we're shuffling forward, pushing off from my back foot. Boof! Chucking the hip into it, like that. We've done that. Now that should create a bit of distance. So we've got a bit of distance now. From here, whack, whack, whack. And what we're aiming for is the side of the knee, side of the leg. If we can get the shin, you give it all you've got. 2, 3, back here. Now at this point you want to run. And he probably wants to as well if you hadn't broken his legs. So this is not, after this you want a scarper. But that's the next one we're looking at. The bayonet. Bayonet. So I'll just run through the two things we've looked at the moment. Okay, so we're starting off with the Fairbairn 5 count drill. Again, got our legs braced. 1. We go across the stomach. 1. Straight up. 1, 2. Straight down. 3. 4. Chucking our shoulder into it. 4. And then 5. We advance straight into it. As a friend of mine said, visit the dentist. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now you could do, now actually, when I'm at my girlfriend's house in Yorkshire, she's got a big hall. And in a hall, I walk up now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And when you step forward with the back foot, step forward on that, and then step forward on that. Bang. So it looks like this if I advance. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1. So you can march forward as you're doing it. Now this, and actually, it is worth learning it the other way around as well, because you never actually know what hand you're going to be holding the cane in. So it's exactly the same, but you do it with the other hand. Cross, up, down, up, down. So that's the Fairbairn drill. The next drill we've looked at is the bayonet drill, where you flip the cane up like a bayonet. Now you hold it in front of you, in front of your face, like peekaboo. You're trying to keep yourself covered. You're coiled like a spring and you're going to go. He steps in to give you a whack straight in. Now you want to be aiming at the centre line of the body, because if you hit here, the body can twist and absorb the shock. If you aim down the centre line, there's nowhere for the energy to go except inside the body. So all the main targets are in the centre line of the body. So the nose, the mouth, the throat, solar plexus, abdomen, groin. They're all, so that's where you want to be going. Don't aim for the shoulders, aim for the middle. So you go 1, 2, 3. 3 different ranges. 3 different heights, I should say. 2, 3. Okay. From there, with because it's a bayonet, you're leading with your left foot. Your strong arm, your right arm is in the rear. Your strong arm is in the, your strong leg is in the back. Now at this point, what I tend to do is step back with my left foot, and then my left foot's now behind. That gives me a bit of space to swing, because if he's very close, you haven't got room to swing. So from here, bang, 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 and then you go back again. Now these are the most powerful strikes in cane fighting. In Kali, Filipino martial arts, these are called a number 1 strike and a number 2 strike. This is as powerful as you can get. So what you want to be doing is aiming them at the shin. If he backs up, you keep following him. 1, 2, 3, then you're back to there again. Okay? So, and have this hand on your wrist like that. Bang. And when you deliver it, if you deliver it low, you're not going to get so much power. From here, It's over your shoulder. Whack. Whack. You're really putting your body into it. Like that. Okay. So that's another one. Any questions on that? No?
I was just asked, is there anything you can do if they grab the stick?
Yes, there is. Depending on what they do. Now, depending on where they grab the stick. If they grab the stick in the middle, you've got the most powerful grip. In fact, I tell you what, I will do a little bit of self-promotion. I've got a book here. I've written 2 books actually. It's called The Bonifant Method, Self-Defense with the Walking Stick. And I've got a whole chapter on what to do when people grab the stick. And while I'm on the subject, I've also written this book, Bartitsu, The Walking Stick Method of Self-Defense. So both of these books, this is to do with the Bartitsu Club. The Bonifant Method is a 1920s style of stick fighting that Arturo Bonifant created in Argentina. And that's a completely different style to the Bartitsu, but complementary. Yeah, so it depends where they grab it. If they grab it in the middle, you've got all the leverage. And there's something we're going to look at next called kayaking. And kayaking is when you have the stick like this and you imagine you're paddling a kayak, right? Now, if you do kayaking, if they grab hold of the stick in the middle, they've got no hope. Even with both hands, they won't be able to hold on to it. If you're in the middle and they've grabbed the outside, then you're in trouble because they've got the leverage and you haven't. And this is why really the most important thing is never let anyone get hold of your stick. And as I say in my Bonifant book, if someone gets hold of your stick, you're in a perilous situation. And actually, what I teach in the Bonifant, and what Bonifant taught was, there's something, when people grab a stick, you could end up tussling for the stick. Now what this means is, your opponent will be developing something called a fixation. Your opponent will be determined to get your stick, and he's going to get that stick. Now all his focus is on your stick, and you know where both his hands are. What you've got to remember is the stick is just the instrument you have to defeat your opponent. It's just the instrument. If he's obsessed with the stick, there's a very strong argument, let him have the stick, because he's got both his hands on it, he's fixated on the stick. As he's fixated on the stick, let go of it, clap his ears. Let go of it, stick your thumbs in his eyes. Chop him in the throat, chop him either side. And these are all things I mentioned in my book. Because ultimately, if he's got hold of the stick, that's not a problem. It's only if he's hitting you with it. If he's holding both his hands on the stick wrestling, let go of the stick, go for him. He's your target, not the stick. And there are various things you can do, particularly that Fairbairn taught, that are absolutely lethal and require no strength, no skill, no special. And I'll run through them for you if you like. The first one is something down here called the carotid artery. Now the carotid artery runs blood to the brain and it's got sensors in it. If you strike there, the sensors detect an increase in blood pressure and you faint. And you can look at this on YouTube. There's a soldier actually, an American Virginia, oh try that on me, and a guy goes bop and he's straight over. This will put someone to sleep instantly. So this is one of the techniques Fairbairn taught, with the edge of the hand to the carotid. Bang. You can do both hands to the carotid. That's one thing you could do. Let him have the stick, give it to him in the carotid. Another area is the throat, very dangerous. You hit someone here, they're not going to be thinking about your stick. They're going to be thinking about breathing. Throat, side to the throat. The eyes, there's another very good technique called the tiger's claw, where what you do, you don't need any skill, you just stick your hand in someone's face. Now you've got 5 fingers, they've got 2 eyes, you've got 10 chances of getting your target. Straight in like that. Once you've hit their eye, they'll forget about the stick. You can also clap your hands over their ears, that'll break their eardrums. Again, they're not going to be thinking about the stick. Or another one, because I studied Wing Chun, Kung Fu for a long time, is kicking to the knee. Just kick the knee, knock the knee out. Again, the stick becomes irrelevant and now they can't walk. So there is an argument. If they've got hold of your stick and they're bigger and stronger than you, forget the stick, go for them. But when you go for them, you've got to go for a vulnerable target that doesn't require years of practice. You know, if you're going to go for a right hook to the jaw, unless you're a boxer, you're probably going to break your hand. So eyes, throat, ears, side of the neck would be what I would say. However, if they grab the stick in the middle, you can kayak. There's lots of ways of getting them to let go. And once they've let go, straight in with a thrust. So let's have a little look at kayaking then. So kayaking is another technique. That's where we hold the stick like this. It does work with one of these as well. And it does work with one of these. Probably a knob cane is probably better. Now a kayak, what you're going to do, you imagine you're in a canoe and you're doing this. What you're transcribing is an X. Like that. Okay. Now when you kayak as well, you've got to remember you've got two thrusts. As I've told you, the thrust is the most deadly strike. Now you look at that, you see, I've got a metal tip on that. So that is deadly. So you kayak. Now this is handy if they grab hold of your stick. If they get hold of it with one hand like that, you start kayaking, they won't be able to hold it. From the kayak, you can launch a bar strike, which we've already looked at from the Fairbairn. From the kayak, you can do the entire Fairbairn system that we've just run through. Again, doesn't require a lot of skill. And from the kayak, you can launch diagonal blows to the side of the neck, horizontal blows. Now, you can paddle your canoe backwards and start going like that. Now this means you can deliver a blow to the floating ribs. Like that, like that. Again?
Haley's just asked, if you miss, how do you recover your footing?
Well, because you're not overcommitting. If I go for someone's floating rib and I miss, I'm in a position to... So what you've got to do when you practice the kayak, 1, 2, 3, jab. 1, 2, 3, jab. You've got to remember you've got this. Because if you miss, you're actually in the bayonet position. 1, 2, 3. Or you're in the Fairbairn position. You see? So...
Marie's just asked, is kayaking bad with an umbrella or walking stick because they can grab hold of the handle?
Yes. Let's have a look. Yeah, for an umbrella, kayaking is probably not the best thing. Now, the thing with an umbrella, unless you've got an unbreakable umbrella, it's not really designed for striking. In fact, I'll tell you what we'll do. We've done kayak. Let's look at something specific to umbrella defence now. Now, with an umbrella, this is there's two problems. First of all, you can't really hit with it because it's padded. And secondly, this can be a bit awkward. So, with an umbrella, we're going to look at another technique. And once again, you flip it up. You're in this position, right? Now, this is again like the bayonet position, but we're going to concentrate on hitting with the tip. So we can do, I think it's 5 strikes again. Thrust. That's your best attack with an umbrella, is thrust, don't stop, just keep thrusting. Everything you can see, because this, very strong, very hard metal tip. Umbrella's not suitable for that, unless you luckily hit with the tip. It can be suitable for the Fairbairn drill. 1, 2, 3, 4, that's fine, 5. So the umbrella works with the Fairbairn drill. It works with the bayonet bit of bayoneting. Doesn't really work with that, okay? So what you've got to concentrate on with the umbrella is the tip. So let's have a look at this. So we come up here and we'll do a number of strikes. We've got 1. That's 1 stab. He may go up. You've now got that. Striking to the side of the head or the face. 1, 2. Now the other way. 3. Again, the same with Fairbairn. Upwards. 4. 5. You can then do this. That's effective as an umbrella. And depending on your handle, this. So what I would say about the umbrella is the Fairbairn drill we looked at first of all is perfectly all right. But if you want to specifically just concentrate on umbrella, you want to be holding it like this, concentrating, attacking with the tip. Now really, one or two of them and that's the end of the argument, because this is very, very nasty. And if you get your weight behind it, you'll be off down the street. You know, there's no coming back from getting one of those in the guts. 1, 2, or in the throat, you'll probably be in court.
Is there a special place to buy unbreakable umbrellas?
Yes. Now what you want to do, there's another one. If you go online and look up unbreakable umbrella, they're about, when I bought these, about £120. This cost me about 120 quid. It is unbreakable. It's got 3 metal, each of the ribs has got 3 metal things in it. It's made of fiberglass. This is absolutely solid. You can actually attack with just the handle. There, bang, bang, up you go, bang, bang. Very, very good. They also make something called the City Safe unbreakable umbrella. This is a City Safe unbreakable umbrella. And once again, it's got all the features of the normal unbreakable umbrella, but it's just a bit shorter. So this you could, but again, really, it's a thrusting weapon. If you think of the umbrella as a spear, that's probably, because that way it's got lots of strength. This way, it's not so effective. However, you can use the handle. So I would, if you Google unbreakable umbrella, and it's got quite a specific looking handle, and this is the one I'd recommend. They do one with a handle like that. They also do one with a ball handle, but they are about 120 quid. They're also very, very heavy.
Jackie says, what do you do with your briefcase or purse?
Well, it depends. Yeah, that's a good question. I don't carry a briefcase, but I don't really carry a purse. So I'd have to ask my partner about that. Yeah, I mean, if you're defending your life, I'd just forget them. You know, if you try not to get hurt, I wouldn't worry about possessions. I'd worry about survival. But yeah, so an umbrella's very good. They're very, very good, but mainly for thrusting. And so the other technique we can look at is holding it like this, horizontal, up, down, jab. We could bring it over like that. Now, another technique we can look at, I'm running through them all here, from the Bonifant method, is called the stick punch. Now, this is when you're holding your cane. We could use one of these canes if you like. And you've got it in that position. Because in 1920s Argentina, the gentlemen used to walk around holding their canes like this. It was a fashion accessory, and they'd just touch it on the ground. He talks about it and just move it around in front of them looking rather genteel. That was the method of perambulation in 1920s Buenos Aires. So starting from this position, what you do with your left foot, you take a step and you launch what's called a butt strike. Butt strike, striking with a handle. Bang, like that. Bang. Now if that's aimed at the carotid, the jaw, the temple, anywhere here, bang. Side of the face. You rotate your hips, throw your body into it like that. And the other technique from the Bonifant system, he calls the power grip. Now the power grip I've just shown you actually, when you flip the cane up like that, and you've got the back hand palm upwards and the front hand palm downwards. Now we can think of this like a harpoon. This is like a harpoon position. From here is probably one of the most powerful ways you can hold a cane, because this is a very rigid. In fact, if you fall down and lie down on the ground, if you push yourself up, you'll find yourself pushing yourself up like that. You don't push yourself up like that. This will support your whole body weight. So this is a very powerful strike. So starting from there, you flip the up. And this is something worth practicing. You're slightly angled towards your opponent, flip the cane up and rotate like that. Flip the cane up and rotate like that. Like that. Now you're in this position. From here, you can launch an instantaneous strike. You just move your hand up or down, depending on where your target is. So if you're aiming for the throat, for example, don't go up, then attack. Go up and attack. It all happens at the same time. Bang. Take a step forward, with your left foot. Your right side backwards, as I've said, the strong side is always at the back. Even with boxing, you can bring your strong hand up from the back like that. So right hand at the back, if you're right-handed. Flip your cane up. Whoops, I missed it. Don't miss it. And then, like that. So your targets again are on the centre of the body. And what you need to do is practice doing this so you don't even look at it. Because you don't. As soon as you look at your hands, they're going to look at your hands. If you can make eye contact and go like that, they won't know what's going on. So you've got to learn to do it without looking. A bit like sleight of hand magic. The audience always looks at what you're looking at. So don't look at it. Practice it so you can do it blindfolded. That becomes a bit like that technique. Just practice it so it becomes like an instinct. So you're off. It's like a little wind-up toy. You're into your Fairbairn mode. Similarly,
Dan's just said, do collapsible walking sticks have enough strength in them to do any techniques?
I don't think so. And what I would suggest, possibly thrusting. If you thrust into the throat, it might work. But what I would honestly suggest is getting yourself a decent walking stick. And when I say a decent one, you need to get one that's got a good grain. There's certain woods, there's oak, there's hickory, not chestnut so much, oak, hickory, hazel, blackthorn. And there's a place in London, I've got a YouTube channel, and I've actually got a video of me going around the shop. I've forgotten the name of it now. There's a shop in London that's just walking sticks. But if you're interested in self-defense, don't use a collapsible aluminium walking stick because you're just going to get your opponent angry. I don't think it's going to work. What you want is a solid, not necessarily heavy, but a solid wooden walking stick so that you can thrust like that. You can do this, that. I wouldn't recommend aluminium one. It's too light.
It sounds to me like you need a stick that's not too long as well, so because you don't want to be having too long an end on the end of it.
No, the stick, you have to have a stick that's the right length for your body. Now, to measure a stick for the right length of your body, the stick should, in your normal shoes, when you wear normal shoes, you have this bony lump, this wrist joint here, yeah? That's your wrist joint. Now, what you need to do is stand up in your normal shoes and your stick, I'll put the handle down so you can see it, should reach, there you go. With it, you're not military, the arms in a relaxed natural position, the end of the stick will reach